Hello everyone, this is Mr. Honeya, and today we got some notes on decision making. So as always, just go ahead, copy and paste the notes into Canvas or copy and paste the notes into the text box, and then from there, just listen to the video and get the questions right. So today we're going to be talking about, let's make some decisions. Just think a bit. What would you rather drive? Would you rather drive the fancy car, or maybe the fancy truck? What would you rather drive? Or what would you rather eat, the pizza or the chicken wings? You got these make. What would you rather listen to? Would you rather listen to J. Cole or Little Pump? Obviously, this presentation was made when I first started teaching 3 years ago, so it's a little outdated. I don't even know if people really listen to Little Pump anymore like that. Which would you rather have? Would you rather have the love and the relationship or the career where you can work your way up? What would you rather have? The cute little kitty cat or the nice little puppy in a mailbox? I mean, what would you rather have in life? All, all of this is kind of decisions. Like, would you rather live in the city or would you rather live in the country? These are all decisions that hopefully you guys will be, some of you've already had to make because, you make decisions about where you want to eat and do things like that, but eventually you'll be making bigger decisions. What would you rather have? Would you rather have the money? Would you rather have a job where you make a lot of money? Or would you rather have a job where maybe you don't make as much money, but you absolutely love it? So would you rather have a job that you maybe not love, but you make more money? Or a job that maybe you absolutely love, but you don't make a lot of money? What would you rather use? Are you an Apple or an Android? I hear some people can be very, very particular about this. So what if you have to get rid of one of these? You can only pick two. Would you rather have sleep, a good academic career, and social life without sleep? Maybe sleep in a good academic career without a social life, or sleep in a social life but you don't do well in academics. A lot of times people make that joke about this is what you have to deal with in college and you have to balance all this stuff. But it's one of those things where a lot of times you have to prioritize what you want to do, and that's what decisions are all about. So, what is your preferred social media platform? Yeah, this is a little outdated considering that TikTok is not listed on here, but I know many of you probably use TikTok a lot more nowadays. So this is in the section of notes. This is a quote to live by: that if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. You want to make sure that you're always making sure that you have at least some form of plan prepared for when you want to go and live through life, and that includes the decision making stuff we're talking about today. So, there's oftentimes a conflict between decisions and values, and when this happens, a lot of times you have to have a harder time making decisions. As I mentioned in the notes yesterday, oftentimes your values are the ones that you need to hold important, and values are king. At the end of the day, you always want to make sure that you are making decisions that center around your values and what you hold dear. You can be stripped of everything in life, but as long as you have your values, ultimately, I think that you'll be fine. So, once again, your values are what you find important and what gives you the most meaning in life. Okay. This is very, very important. So, whether you value money, whether you value relationships, whether you value your career, whether you value doing well, whether you value having a good reputation, all of this comes into play when making decisions. So, you want to make sure that you consider your values overall. So, there are four types of decisions. The first is a creative, which is kind of thought about, but it's not well planned. This is like, okay, I have an idea. Let me just give it a shot. Let me see if it works out. If it works out, that's great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So this is kind of what it's thought about, but we don't have a really big plan about it. And a lot of times these can work out because maybe you've thought about it a lot, but at the same time, you don't have a real clear idea of what you want to do. So there's your creative decision. Next, we have what's called the alternative, which is a choice between two alternatives. So, in other words, you have two choices between you. You either have the pizza or the chicken wings. You can listen to J. Cole or Little Pump. You have basically you have the choice between two, and by picking one, it's the idea that you will not be picking the other. But we all know that that is not how life typically works. A lot of times, decisions are a lot more complicated than that. And a lot of times, for example, decisions such as pizza or the chicken wings I mean, if we're being real here, why not have both? Okay, pizza and chicken wings is delicious, so why not have both? But in certain cases, there are things where by not choosing one, you do choose the other. Then we have evaluated decisions where we look at the pros and cons of the choice you're thinking about. So you're looking at making a choice, and there could be multiple routes to take. There could be multiple routes to take. So, for example, maybe you want to think about where to go to college. So you're not having to choose between one, you're not having to choose between two. Maybe you got accepted into four colleges. So now you're trying to think about the choice that you're trying to make, and you're evaluating the pros and cons of each choice, and things of that nature. So in a way, it's kind of like an alternate decision, but you're actually weighing the benefits, and as well as the negative sides of the choices that you make. So it's really focusing more so on the good and the bad, towards the choices that you make. And then finally, there's impulsive, no thought, it's done by wants, first reaction. Walk into a store, you see a pair of shoes you like, you don't even think about it, drop your money on the shoes. Um, I had a professor in college who actually used to say, impulsive decisions, think about a toddler. You give a toddler $10. Oh, that's great. You got $10. What do you want to do with it? I want candy. But you can buy something, oh, I want candy. Impulsively, they're just, I want candy. All right, that's the thing. That's impulsive. They don't think about it at all. It's done instantly. It's done by once. It's the first reaction. So we have decision making methods. And once again, we're continuing through with the process. So you have the evaluation of options, which is very similar to what you see, like I mentioned earlier, with alternatives, as well as the excuse me, the alternatives, as well as what you see with the um, pros and cons. So you're evaluating your options. You see what you got out there. Like I said, you want to make your best choice, so you're evaluating those options. Next, you have a decision by non decision, and it's because of a set of circumstances beyond your control. You have no choice but to choose that decision. So, for example, let's say you have a middle schooler and they were asked, do you want to go virtual or do you want to go virtual or do you want to go in person for school? And unfortunately, because their parent works during the day and the parent doesn't want them at home, they have no choice but to make the decision to go to school because their parent doesn't want them at home on the computer, maybe a little bit unsupervised, virtual. So, because of the circumstances, they have no choice but to choose to go to school. All right. So, it's one of those things that because of the situation, your hand is forced. You have no choice. You have to make that decision. Next is habit, which is out of habit, you simply make the choice, not really thinking about it. So, not really thinking about it. So, for example, I know this is really big for me, but out of habit, whenever I walk past a vending machine in the morning, automatically I start getting the idea like, hey, I might want a little Coke Zero or something, even though I probably shouldn't be spending the money on the Coke Zero. So, it's one of those things like out of habit, you typically get it. And sometimes this is also born, sometimes out of tradition. Like, for example, you could be told that maybe, like, let's say, for instance, you could be told that maybe eating donuts is not good for you. But out of habit, you're so used to going and sliding by Dunkin' Donuts every morning on the way to school that out of habit, you do it anyway, even though you kind of know it's not good for you, but and you're not really trying to change it, but you're just not really thinking about the choice you make because it's something you've always done. And habits can be really hard to break. So it's something that you've always done and you'll probably continue to do. And you got to break that habit sometimes if it's not good for you. And then finally, letting others decide for you, which is one we'll have a hard time later in life. As high schoolers, it's one of those things where you guys are currently in the time in your life where you're going to start making decisions for yourself. And it's important to understand that, making decisions and wanting to make decisions for yourself is natural and that's good for you. It's natural to want to have that opportunity. But the big thing is understanding that as you get older, you're going to have to make decisions that affect other people. And, you need to make sure that you're making these decisions on your own accord and not letting other people decide for you. So now we're going to go through the decision-making process, and you guys will be walking through this in time. Now it's listed right now as going backwards, but just know that we're doing this from the standpoint of understanding it. It's just how the PowerPoint. So step one. So obviously it's listed backwards on your notes, but fill it in as step one, step two, step three. So identify and define the problem. So this is where you're actually going to recognize what the problem is. You have a problem. So let's just make it nice and simple. Pizza or chicken wings, you have to choose it. So your problem, I have to figure out whether I want to eat pizza or whether I want to eat chicken wings. Okay. So that's your step one. You're defining that problem. So step two is explore the alternatives and solutions. So maybe your solutions are you want to eat the pizza. That's fantastic. Or maybe your other solutions are that you want to eat the chicken wings. Or there can be a whole nother thing. You don't want to eat the pizza and the chicken wings altogether. You maybe want to eat, kale and salmon and liver and onions. All right, you have plenty of alternatives here. So you're not just confined to these choices, but you want to explore what you can. You could maybe skip a meal and not eat anything at all. So you're exploring the alternatives. Next, you want to choose the one that is the best. So, for example, maybe you've weighed it out. Maybe you're like, you know what, pizza, it's a lot of bread, trying to cut down carbs, so maybe you're going to go with the chicken wings. So, step three is making the decision. You're not actually doing anything except making the decision. So for step three, I want you guys to think about this. In step three, you're thinking, I choose. You're not actually doing anything, but you're thinking in your mind, I choose. So here in this step, I choose the chicken wings. So now you've chosen chicken wings. So step five. Step four, now you're going to act on the decision. So this is what you are actually going to do, the action in place to make that choice and do what you want. So step three, you're thinking to yourself, I want the chicken wings. So now how do we make that choice? Maybe you call DoorDash and place an order for chicken wings. Maybe you reach out, or maybe you go out into town and you decide to buy chicken wings from the store so that way you can go home and cook them later. Maybe at the restaurant you're at, you tell your waiter, I want chicken wings. Okay. So then this is you actually doing a physical action to acquire and make that choice. And then step five is evaluating the results. So you've gone through and you ate the chicken wings. All right. Maybe they did not taste as good as you thought, and maybe you wanted the pizza. So now you're thinking back, evaluating. Maybe I should have had the pizza. The chicken wings weren't that great. Or maybe the chicken wings were absolutely fantastic. And you're like, that's a great choice. Or maybe you had the chicken wings, and because, you cut down the carbs a little bit from not eating the pizza, you didn't feel very bloated and you didn't really get tired after eating. So you felt like you had energy. So maybe that was a good choice. So this is where now you're evaluating and thinking, did I make the right decision? Was this a good decision? What could I have done differently? So there you have it. So there's your 5 steps. You guys will be going through this in the next couple of days when we start going through more about the decision making process. So the big question, what drives our decisions? For most of us, like I said, it's going to be our values, it's going to be our needs, it's going to be our wants, and it's a lot of things, a lot of decisions that you guys are going to be making in your lifetime. Is not only going to affect you, but it's going to start affecting other people, both mentally, emotionally, physically. And it's one of the things is that there's so much more that drives your decisions, and we will be talking about that as we move through, and it's going to get pretty deep. Just saying. So at this point, if you go into Canvas, you will see what is called the needs and wants organization chart. And what it is it's a Venn diagram. And what you're going to do is you're going to go through the process of picking out or picking photos from the internet and sorting them on this Venn diagram into needs, wants, or both. And then you're just going to answer the reflection questions and kind of explain, in some cases, what your needs were, what your wants were, and why you put them in certain places. And this is totally contextual, okay? This is totally contextual, which, it's all based on your thoughts. So, for example, in some cases, like people may look at a cell phone and they may see it as, well, cell phone's not really a need. You don't need a cell phone, but you want a cell phone, but you kind of need a cell phone because you want to be able to contact people, and you want to have that access to your friends and your family and the internet. So that may be a both. And in some cases, certain things like a new fancy car, you don't need it, but at the same time, it's a want. But it's a lot better than having but it's a lot better than having no car maybe. But it all depends on how you want to spin it. It all depends on what you think. So in some cases, certain things may be both for you. Certain things may be a need for you. Certain things may be just wants for you, because all of our needs and wants are different for each of us. So at this point, you guys can go ahead, get started, and I will see you guys tomorrow.